I know we don't want to get dragged down in this conversation off of one game, but is it time for the Bills to move on from Sean McDermott? Have we seen enough of Sean McDermott? And I know when we asked this question on Twitter, a lot of Bills fans informed us it was time when he couldn't get the job done in 13 seconds. B, I'll let you talk about that game first because I know you had a good opinion on it. So let me hear what your thoughts were about that. Let's start with that.
So I know the head coach will always take fault and blame for when things like that happen, when you lose a game by 13 seconds deep in like the playoffs. But I don't know. I feel as though calling out of his name for that game is kind of unfair in my own opinion. Okay. One, I don't believe he was calling the defense. It was Leslie Frazier, I think his name is. Which I don't know where he's at now. So I gotta be better, do more research. I don't know where he's at right now. So that's like one point there. And two, like then you can say, okay, well, they kind of gave up the middle. It was a bad defense. How come McDermott didn't like override the play call, that stuff? How come they weren't synced up better before that series started? And I get all that. I don't remember what the scenario was for the amount of timeouts the Chiefs had, for example. But I bet the Bills were thinking in that moment, hey, like there's 13 seconds left. They might try to stop the clock, protect the sidelines, and just give them like the middle. Don't really play like I don't know. Just let them catch it, and then we'll see what happens. So I get it. It sucks to lose a game that way. And I get the head coach gets like the blame. But I also think in the larger picture, he's been doing a pretty damn good job as the head coach for the Bills. You have any thoughts to what I said about the Chiefs-Bills game and the 13-second miracle or failure, depending on what side of the team you're on, before I kind of go into my topic about this him as a whole as a head coach for the Bills?
Yeah, a little bit. Like I said, it to me, sure, it's one game, it's one incident. You don't want to put it all on him. You would have liked. I assume they should have talked about that. Hey, Leslie, we just scored. We're gonna kick it off to him. What's your plan? Would they have 2 timeouts? They only need a field goal at the time. I don't think we should go with prevent defense. I think again, there's some checks and balances that should be there, not in the middle of the play call, obviously. But to me, it just kind of shows the lack of situational awareness by the head coach. Before we get too further into that, I want you guys to head down to the comment section and let us know what you think. Who's to blame for that 13-second? Was it more on the Chiefs and Mahomes doing miracles, or was it more on the Bills defense for not playing in a regular zone and going with prevent instead? Let us know what you think. Give us a like and subscribe while you're down there. But back to our conversation, to me, that's it's just one of a pattern that I'm starting to see of a situational problem. But tell me, I want to hear the rest of your thoughts. Do you think are you seeing a pattern with it? Do you think it's time to find someone else, or do you think, it's one-offs?
I think it's just honestly, it's one-off stuff. If I were the Bills, I would not fire McDermott for another. I would wait till after next season to fire him if I were the Bills owner or the Bills GM or whatever. And I say that because I'm sorry, yeah.
So I was going to ask, before you get too deep into that, what would you need to see from him next season to save his job?
I would need to see more of, I guess to your point, there's a deeper playoff run. Like I want to see them win a game. I don't know if my benchmark would be make it to the Super Bowl per se.
Or maybe AFC Championship game?
Yeah, I would say you have to at least make it to the conference champ. Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Because they have the talents there. They have a top 5 quarterback. Some people say top 3. He's not playing too well right now, but we all know the talent that they have. Like at some point, you need to put it together and go make this deep playoff run. So that's kind of would be my benchmark, and that's a really good question. But let's go into kind of the weeds here about why I think he's overall been really, really good for this Bills org. He was hired in 2017. Okay, so let me just rattle off the Bills records from like 2010 to 2016. 2010, they're 4-12. They had 3 straight seasons of 6-10. Then they went 9-7 in 2014, 500 in 2015 at 8-8, and then 2016 7-9. Okay, so they were kind of bad to average. Okay, after McDermott gets hired in 2017, they went 9-7, nothing special. It's good though, I guess. 2018 had a bad year; they're 6-10, and then 2019 they won 10 games. 2020 13, 2021 11, 2022 13. He is pulling it up here, 67-40 as head coach. With he's winning 2/3 of his games, right? And maybe my perspective of the wins and losses and his winning per percentage and whatnot is kind of skewed because my team is just trash. I'm a Bears fan. You guys don't know. So I would give my left foot for like 3 or 4 straight season of 10 plus wins. Like that
Well,
to me seems great.
I do want to ask you this question. I do want to give you a little bit of pushback on this with his record. Is it interesting to you at all? He started really he went 10-6 in 2019. I do get that. The last year of Tom Brady in New England. 2020, first year Tom Brady's gone from New England. He went to Tampa, I believe, that year, right?
In 2020, he did,
first year.
Yep.
That's when the Bills finally took off. The Jets have been a mess. The Dolphins have been a mess until Mike McDaniels got there. And oh my gosh, and who else is in there? The Jets, the
Jets,
Bills,
Dolphins,
the Patriots.
And Bills. Yeah, that's all 4.
Oh yeah, so you have the Jets who've been a mess historically. You have the Dolphins who were a mess, and then the Patriots and lose Tom Brady. Is it kind of coincidental to you that the turnaround really seemed to happen with Tom Brady leaving the division, or do you think they finally just clicked and that was it's because he's such a great coach?
I think it's I mean I get the point that you're saying, but you can't really control other teams' like situations, right? You play who's in front of you. You know what I mean? If the teams in this division are weaker, sure, but like Josh, I guess you can kind of point it to the talent he had on the team too. Josh Allen there, Diggs took off. The defense is solid, right? The GM did a great job. Like the D line, it's a bunch of first round picks, and like they're stellar. They brought in Von Miller last season. So I guess to answer your question, yeah, the overall environment with the AFC East could be a factor, and he had the talent, but like if we're going to fault him for that 13-second loss and whatnot, we also got to credit him for like winning too. I think it goes hand in hand. You can't be like, oh, you're crap for losing those games and those moments, but all those wins you have don't really mean much because the division is weaker and you have good talent. And so in my opinion, I'm still gonna give him credit for that.
Yeah, and I don't mean to sit here and I'm not trying to completely discredit him because the division fell apart, but I do just want to maybe bring to light, remind people that that is you're looking at potentially 6 free wins a year. I mean, that's almost half of your 13. And I'm not saying they won all the games. I don't have the numbers in front of me. But that does play a role when you're no longer playing Tom Brady and now you're playing Zach Wilson, Mac Jones, whoever they had before Tua. I can't remember that far back at this point.
I don't know either, yeah.
So, I mean, you're facing lesser talent. I just mean in terms of like that's six wins, not guaranteed, but you're more likely to win 4 or 5 of those. To me, I would only move on if it was the right situation. Like I wouldn't just move on if it were me. But I do notice a habit, a habitual problem with game management. We saw it in the AFC divisional round with the Chiefs. We saw it with the Vikings game last year, as well as the Dolphins game last year in the playoffs when you're playing, Skylar Thompson, the Skylar Thompson Dolphins, not even the Tua, the Skylar Thompson Dolphins, and you couldn't put them away. We've just seen, and now you're looking at the Broncos game this past week. Again, situational coaching that has cost them big games. That Broncos game could be the difference between them making the playoffs or not, winning the division or not. And something as just as simple as having 11 dudes on the field instead of 12 and giving the team a second chance at a kick. You can't have it. Or sending an all-out blitz twice. The first time, sure, caught them off guard, got the sack, fantastic call. Going for it again when they're out of field goal range with no more timeouts on fourth and 20 or whatever it was, is like, what are you doing? Just drop and play coverage, drop 8. Why would you send a full house blitz and put your guys press man coverage to the line, especially when we got Jerry Jeudy. All Russell Wilson had to do, which he didn't do, was just hug it up. Sure shit, PI, first down. It's just it's situational management like that makes me think it may be time to go in a different direction. He's a good coach. I'm not saying he's a bad coach. I'm just saying when it comes to situational, that's what really can make and break playoff games, and we're trying to make a deep run. In terms of moving on, I would only move on if it was the right situation. So like if I'm the owner of the Bills, the only situation I'm moving on this offseason is I'm calling Jim Harbaugh once the year ends and going, hey, Jim, can we convince you to come coach in Buffalo? And if Jim says no, I'm rolling with Sean McDermott again. If Jim says yes, bye, Sean. Like that's because that's a guy with a reputation of winning. That's a guy that makes great in-game management. He knows how to build a program. He's an offensive-minded guy who brings a ground and pound style, which is protective of the quarterback, which would be great for Josh Allen. It's much safer throws, much more play action. They want to win by running, which, again, all protects Josh Allen from the dumb decision, the hero ball stuff. It just takes, pressure off of his shoulders. He's also a former quarterback. He can relate to Josh really well, like he did with Alex Smith, like he does with J.J. McCarthy. I just think, again, so if I'm the Bills, for me, going to the offseason, it's Harbaugh or I'm rolling with Sean McDermott. I'm not taking a chance on a Ben Johnson or a first-time coordinator to give the keys to my franchise to. But what do you guys tell us what you think? Is it the right decision for the Bills to move on from Sean McDermott? Let us know in the comments section. Give us a like, subscribe. But thank you for tuning in with us. You guys can find us on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Spotify, and Twitter. It's been fun. It's been the RFL show. It's been Emmett. It's been B. Thank you for joining us, guys. And